you for joining us this morning with Coffee with a Cop. I hope you have a great cup of coffee as we work through our program today. Our program is Lisa Scarber from
UMOM.
Yeah, UMOM. And we want to highlight this resource that Lisa's going to introduce because November is National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. So we're going to be joining a program called 24-Hour Safe Place, which allows youth that are in need to come to the police department, and we can help them get the resources that they do need. So we'll be sending out a formal press release later, and I just wanted to give an update, or have Lisa give an update on the program. So without further ado, Miss Lisa, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you. Like I said, my name is Lisa Scarber. I'm the Safe Place Coordinator. Kind of new to that. Bob was our Safe Place Coordinator before, which Stephen has been working with, and he took over Program Manager for another program, so they kind of handed it to me, which I'm glad because I really love the Safe Place program. I think it does a lot of good in the community. So I'm going to go through tell you guys a little bit about the Safe Place program, what we do, and how we partner with the community. I put my contact information up at the top. You can call me, text me at that number, as well as that's my email address. So if you feel like you have any other questions or concerns or anything, want more information, feel free to reach me at any of those ways. So I'm not going to go into great detail about, oh no, I went too far. Okay, so UMOM is more than just Safe Place. I won't go into tons of detail about all of our programs, but I find out a lot that when people know about Safe Place, they don't know about our other programs. And when they know about our other programs, they don't always know about our Safe Place program. So I thought I'd kind of spend a brief moment to talk about some of the other services UMOM offers. We have a family housing hub that offers emergency housing and extended housing to families. We have Haley Women's Center, which is specifically for women 18 and up. We have the Youth Resource Center that is not shelter, but we do have case managers and a counselor that does mobile work with young adults between the ages of 18 and 24. They meet with them to find them housing, shelter, employment opportunities, work with them, getting them hygiene supplies, meals, stuff like that. We do have 2 independent living programs. One is solely for foster youth, ages 16 to 21. And the other one is has beds half for foster youth and half for kids who are not in foster youth. And I'll talk a little bit more about that because we often have kids transition from Open Hands to our independent living program. And then we have Open Hands. Open Hands is the name of the 6-bed residential shelter that we bring the youth to through Safe Place. And then we have, of course, Safe Place. The National Safe Place program is an outreach and prevention program. So we do a lot of outreach into the community by going to do presentations in the schools, presentations with anybody in the community. Part of our prevention program is education. We do a lot of education amongst adults and the youth, both in school, out of school, anywhere that will have us to come and try to make ourselves known. It was founded by the YMCA of the greater Louisville, Kentucky area in 1983. UMOM is the lead agency here in Maricopa County. We're the only Safe Place agency in Maricopa County. So we serve everywhere from west of Buckeye, that's still Maricopa County, to all through Apache Junction. So if there's a kid anywhere in Maricopa County that needs a safe place, we will transport them. Open Hands is a 24-hour crisis shelter. We have a crisis line that's answered 24/7. Somebody's always there. Somebody's always available. And I'm going to play a quick video that kind of gives a little recap of Safe Place. You can see my screen still?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect.
And you might have to unmute it.
Okay.
You ate all the pizza.
I was hungry.
What?
I said I was hungry.
Other people gotta eat too, you know. I can't spend my whole paycheck feeding you. I gotta pay the rent, electric, your cell phone bill.
Maybe if you bought less beer.
What you say?
Nothing.
You know, maybe it's time for you to get your butt out and get a job so you can see what it's like to put food on the table. It ain't easy.
I can't do that and go to school. I need good grades to get into college.
College. We can't even keep bologna in the refrigerator thanks to you. College. You think you better than me? Get out of my house, college boy.
Freaking loser.
That happened to me. When my dad kicked me out, I didn't know what to do. Man, I was pissed. But I was also pretty scared. There's a lot of stuff that can trip you up in life. For me, it was family problems. But being out in the streets with no place to go, that's nothing but trouble. There is a place that you can go, though, like fast food restaurants, fire stations, libraries, schools, city buses, even that convenience store down the street. Just look for the ones that have the yellow and black Safe Place sign. They can hook you up with people who can help. They'll know what to do, even when you don't.
So that is an example of kind of how youth go from their family situation or whatever situation they may be in, and how they get to us. And there's plenty of other ways they also connect, but that's just kind of an example of something we often see. So I like to give out these text for help cards. And we do have tons of other brochures and pamphlets and information. So if you guys are interested, Stephen, I don't know if Bob ever gave you any, but if you would like some, not just the text for help ones, but we have specific open hands cards and, other resources we could have to hand out. So I don't know if Bob ever gave you any, but if not, I'd be happy to bring some to your area.
Wonderful.
Okay, and I can shoot over some copies of what we have if you're more interested in one than or the other, or I could just bring a little bit of both out. So this is the text for help line, and I give this out often. I think this is the most convenient and easiest way for adults and teenagers to find the nearest safe place. A lot of times it's easy in Phoenix, or the Phoenix area, I should say, for kids to find a QT to go to and request a safe place. But there is a lot of places more in the rural areas where they may not have a QT. So what people can do is text the word safe and your current location to 4HELP, 44357, and it'll pop up wherever your nearest QT or safe place site. It doesn't have to be a safe place site. It could be, or a QT, I'm sorry, working from home a little bit today. So it could be QT, library, wherever our partners are, the closest one they will list through that text site. So it's really convenient. Unfortunately, there are a lot of times where there aren't any nearby. I've recently kind of connected to a lot of partners on the different reservations, and they're like nowhere near a safe place site. So what I've encouraged everybody to do, if there's no safe place site nearby, you can call our crisis line directly, 841-5799, which is on the screen, and we can work something out from there. We prefer to pick up youth from like an actual safe place site, but there's been times when there's like nothing nearby, or their nearest safe place site is 5 miles away, and we don't want them walking like 5 miles at 11 p.m. To find a QT. So we might make arrangements with them to meet us at a Circle K, or a Walmart, or something that's public and well lit, but that's kind of a last resort for us. Let's see, we also often have people bring the kids directly to our shelter. We're more so good with law enforcement doing that, crisis like Taros or Impact or something like that. We feel comfortable enough, obviously, for the kids to be brought directly, so we don't have to, have the law enforcement drop them off at a QT or whatever. We can arrange it so they can bring them directly to our shelter as well. So we often wonder why the kids need a safe place in the first hand. And that could be a lot of different reasons. The biggest reason we see that youth need a safe place is family disputing. We often, see kids who have been kicked out of their home. One of the biggest reasons we see kids being kicked out of the home is, they come out as gay, and that's often a problem for the parents. We see just, normal disputing over anything and everything, where each side, the parents, the kid, they just can't take it anymore. Sometimes the kid, is run away. Sometimes they're kicked out. Sometimes it's a little of both. So it's really hard to decipher that time, and that's when we kind of work with them, but I'll go into that more later. As far as community support and engagement goes, I put a little bit of statistics on there for over 2019, just to kind of show you, what all we do for the community. It's not just working directly with youth and safe place. I mean, that's our primary goal, is to get youth in crisis off the streets, but we do so much more with the crisis line in the community. As you can see, in 2019, we received nearly 300 calls from adults seeking shelter, over 200 adults looking for community information. And so part of what we do on our crisis line, we connect them with other shelters. We have a big resource book. So if they're looking for clothing or food or, shelter, we do our best to connect them with resources since we can't provide them direct services. Through community events last year, pre-COVID, of course, we reached out to over 3,000 youth, provided them with information on Safe Place. Over 5,000 information cards were distributed. 32 youth were counseled via telephone. Over 1,000 adults were provided information about Safe Place at school and community events. 74 youth were helped at a Safe Place site or other location, and over 2,000 received our outreach cards. We have a big partnership with Team Lifeline. We often go into the schools and, pre-COVID, and we would do like 30 schools in 30 days, hitting all the lunches and passing out information cards, connecting with the youth, connecting with the schools, the teachers, the staff, so they knew what our services were and how we could kind of help them. So that's like a huge part of our job too, is to do engagement like this. So many people don't know our program exists, or there's help out there for kids. So unfortunately, most resources available for shelters and group homes and placement for kids is through DCS. We're one of the only places you'd be able to find shelter for a youth that's not involved with DCS. And that's a huge primary goal for us as well, is to not have to get the youth involved with DCS. We're kind of like the stop before that happens, especially with the family disputing. We get a lot of parents, I'm done with them. I don't want anything to do with them. take them. And so our goal is to, talk to the parents, hey, why don't you bring them to our program while they're here? Maybe we could provide them with individual counseling. And then we have the expectation that the parents, participate in counseling as well. So our goal is family reunification. We don't want the kid to go into the system. And so we really hope to provide some crisis intervention to the family and to the youth and reunite them to go home. Unfortunately, oftentimes, especially we see it in the 17-year-old population, that, parents are like, nope, I'm done. And that's when our independent living program comes into place. If we have the availability, we try to transition them from our shelter to our independent living program. Because if they're in our independent living program prior to their 18th birthday, they can stay up to 18 months. And we teach them independent living skills, try to get their own place. They're required to go to school, go to work, be really productive. So we often see that transition from our shelter to independent living. Sometimes it doesn't happen because we unfortunately have so many 17-year-olds that do need a place to stay before they're 18, that there's usually a pretty ongoing waiting list. But we definitely try to utilize all of our resources and avoid them going into care if possible. So there's a few more statistics. In Maricopa County, we estimate about 600 youth on the streets every night. We see a lot of individuals who are caught up in sex trafficking as minors. We found that, about 40% have reported that they've attempted suicide. 44% of homeless youth identify in the LGBTQ+ community. And family issues account for approximately 28% of our calls. I almost feel like it's probably even higher now. We've really seen things escalate. I'm sure you guys can imagine with COVID, everybody being quarantined together. I think we've seen a rise in family disputing calls. My mom kicked me out. I left home because, it's a toxic environment. So COVID's really had pushed some of those family disputing issues up, and we've gotten a lot of calls for that. So some of the partnerships we have are Valley Metro. That's a huge partnership of ours. We have 174 stationary sites. So like the call boxes, the hubs, anything for the light rail for the buses. There's call boxes at the stations, like I said, and at the hubs. And then the mobile sites would be actually like the actual light rail, the actual bus. So a kid can go to a bus stop, say, hey, I need a safe place. And I've seen it one of two ways. I've seen sometimes the bus driver has the youth come on the bus, and they call us, and we're like riding all over Maricopa County trying to catch up with them because they don't, just stop and wait for us. But lately, they've been sending another Valley Metro staff with them to stay there until we got there. So that's a lot more helpful than trying to catch them from bus stop to bus stop. So the emergency call boxes are 24/7 because the light rail and the buses don't run 24/7, but they have the emergency call boxes that they can go to at the hubs, at the stations, that they can call and say, hey, I need a safe place, and then we work from there. Let's see, here are a list of some of our other community partners. As you can see, Quick Trip, the Avondale Library, different fire stations, the Family Advocacy Center. And if anybody wants the presentation to get a list of them or anything else, I know Stephen has a copy. I can email you a copy. But I would say our biggest partnerships that keep us the busiest would probably be Quick Trip and then Valley Metro. But more often than not, people go through Quick Trip and then Valley Metro, and then Law enforcement does a fantastic job of contacting us. We've really built a huge network with law enforcement, which is fantastic, because it gives law enforcement, the chance to connect with us and us with them, and also connect in a different way with the youth as well. Then we're all working as a team, and so it's been a really fantastic partnership, connecting with like the resource officers in the schools and the different PD in the area. So a lot of times people are kind of curious how it all happens. And so I'm going to go through, kind of show you how a typical run through goes. I think a lot of times when we can explain to the youth what is going to happen, then they may feel more comfortable about getting services, if that makes sense. So the first thing would be having a youth in crisis. And they find the local safe place site. So let's say it's a QT. They go to the QT. The staff on site will ask about their general situation and their age. The employee will call us, tell us they need a safe place. We ask to speak with the youth. We do like a quick call screening, mostly just ask like their name, their age, their kind of general information. Then we provide the employee with who's going to pick them up, and we let them know what we're going to be driving. We always have a UMOM ID, so the youth knows who we are, so the employees can identify we're an actual UMOM employee. We also give them kind of our ETA so they know when to expect us. Our goal is to be there under an hour. That's what how quickly we're supposed to respond. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. We've gotten calls from, during rush hour at 4 o'clock to go pick up a youth in East Mesa, and that's just not going to happen, under an hour sometimes when we're in, central-ish Phoenix. Sometimes that can happen, but more than often it does not. We cannot get there that quickly. So then we show our ID. We connect. When we get the youth, we generally call Quick Trip the corporate back, let them know we've got the youth. Then we actually bring them back to our shelter, and we do like an assessment. We discuss with them what their basic needs are, what we can do for them. We kind of assess their safety. If we need to call DCS, the police, anything like that. And what we do from there is kind of on a case-by-case basis. There are times when we have to call DCS, and we and DCS may feel like it's too unsafe for them to return home. So, we generally will keep them there as long as possible until DCS can come out and investigate. But generally, we have to call the parents legally within 23 hours. We generally call them right away, unless there are safety concerns, just because, as parents, we want to know where our kids are. And so sometimes the kids have just run away, they don't want to follow the rules at home. And so we see that often too. So we kind of try to assess the situation, see what's the safest route going to be. And we kind of go from there, try to connect them with community resources. Sometimes it's just a matter of providing them with food and hygiene. So each case is different, and we'll go into that a little bit more. So specifically about Open Hands. Open Hands is a 6-bed residential emergency shelter in Phoenix. We try to provide as safe-like home setting as possible. We serve kids who are experiencing crisis, including homelessness, family conflict, or abuse. We provide individual, group, and family counseling. And like I mentioned before, our goal is always family reunification. So if they're homeless, we provide resources to the family to try to get housing, shelter. Like I mentioned earlier, UMOM has a family housing hub. So our expectations would be that the family goes down to the housing hub, start applying for different shelter and housing options, and then get connected with any other resources possible. And like I mentioned earlier, if they're at open hands because of family conflict, our expectations would be to work with our clinical team, myself, the therapist, and to try to work towards family reunification. For when kids are staying for longer term, we try to incorporate life learning, teaching them life skills, help them obtain employment, any other kind of skills that would be beneficial. One of our biggest questions is how long they're able to stay. And I can't give a specific answer to that because each situation is, case by case. We are a short-term program. As far as kids who are coming in because of family conflict, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops. But generally, when kids are like legitimately homeless and needing a place to stay, generally we're able to offer like a longer term stay. Like I said, I know that's not clear, but it's just kind of a case by case situation. I work closely with the parents. I speak with them, daily, or every couple days. Let's see, approximately 200 youth are served each year, and all are exited to safe and permanent housing. I'm going to skip a lot of these statistics because I think I'm about running out of time. I think I was told like 20-30 minutes. So there are different ways everybody can help. Educate. It's huge to provide information to the youth. It's critical for their safety. And it's also super important for the success of Safe Place because without our partners, we don't have youth coming in. So it's super important for kids to know that they have a safe place to go. And oftentimes when kids are given this information, given our safe place information by their teachers, by law enforcement, it kind of gives them the it's okay and it's safe to use. The ways to get involved, consider donating your time, different items, connect with establishments like here, virtual fairs, PSAs, trainings, videos. You guys are all already becoming a safe place site, so that's fantastic. One of the things, myself and one of the other case managers on site have actually talked about, we would love to, someday, if people want to volunteer, we would love for law enforcement to come in, not as necessarily law enforcement, but, just connect with the youth, play basketball, just volunteer time, just connect with the kids on a different level. The kids love when people come in and spend time with them and just know that they're being acknowledged and supported. So that's a huge thing. We always love volunteers to come, and so that's something, to keep in mind too, if anybody's ever interested. So real quick, if the kid is over 17, unfortunately, we can't take them to our program because we're only licensed for 12 to 17. So the best we can do is give them resources. If they're under 12 years old, we don't necessarily bring them back to our shelter, but we still will go to the site. There's a couple months ago, we had a safe place call for a kid who was 8 years old. He ran away from his foster home. So I went to the QT and I sat with him until DCS and law enforcement could show up. So we still go there. We still provide services and support, but we just don't bring them back to our shelter. If the youth is accompanied by a parent, that's okay. Depending on the situation, we may bring the parent back to sign them in. We just try our best to explain the program to the parent. If the youth decides they no longer wish to receive services, that's perfectly fine. At any time they can opt out. It's not mandatory for them to come. There are often times when we get there and they're like, nope, I'm not coming, and that's okay. Like I mentioned earlier, the parent or guardian will be contacted. We have to, otherwise it's kind of like borderline kidnapping. But we try to contact them as soon as possible, but there are times when we can delay the call if there are safety concerns, especially if DCS advises us not to call the parents. And then another question we get often is, what if the youth is under the influence of substances? So that's also a case-by-case thing. You know, a lot of kids are under the influence of substances to a certain extent, and, you know, we'll still bring them to the shelter. However, if they're maybe too intoxicated, maybe stumbling too much, or if it's a concern, we would probably be unable to bring them in just because it could be a safety concern to our other youth, because we are a co-ed facility as well. We do, you know, have separate rooms and separate areas for the youth, but, you know, we've seen where kids are, you know, too intoxicated or under the influence, and that just brings up too many safety concerns. And at that point, it'd probably be best to transport them to like a hospital. But we kind of evaluate the situation on each case, if that makes sense. So I think that's pretty much an overview of our Safe Place program. I hope I covered everything. And then if there are any other questions.
Thank you very much, Lisa. We do have one question from a resident. He asks, what are we doing in PV to adopt this program, and how will we communicate it to residents? And so, as we had described, we did sign a formal agreement with UMOM to establish a safe place location in the town of Paradise Valley. Currently, the only safe place locations that exist within the town of Paradise Valley is along the Metro Valley bus line. However, that doesn't operate 24/7, so there was no 24/7 location within the town of Paradise Valley. So the steps that we've made recently are to formalize that relationship with UMOM to create and establish a safe place location. And once all of the formalities and requirements are met, we'll communicate that with our residents through our alerting systems, through Alert PV, social media. We'll do a formal press release and have that hopefully released into the newspaper as well.
Fantastic.
Are there any other questions that I can help? If anything else does come up, you can always reach out to me or Lisa. We had our contact information on this webinar. We'll also make it available on our YouTube channel, so you can use that as reference if you need to, if you have other questions or want to reference some of the material that was presented today. Chief, were there any last comments that you wanted to share?
Nope, I'm thankful for everybody joining us today, this morning. I know that it was probably a late night for many of you watching election results, and I'm sure that will continue throughout the day. And we've had, just for a quick update, no incidents in Paradise Valley of violence or any of that type of thing. No incidents in the East Valley either. So we continue to be plugged in with our regional partners and ensuring the safety of Paradise Valley. So thank you, Lisa, for taking part in our Coffee with a Cop, and everybody else. I hope you got a great cup of coffee this morning.
Yes, thank you so much. And I appreciate all you guys do to keep our community safe. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.